now let's move forward to how you got into birth work, because that's what we're here to talk about today. You being a doula and providing all these great services for the first time expecting mothers and the mothers who already have kids.
Ooh, how did I get into birth work? So, you know how I told you a little bit earlier that I always wanted to be an OBGYN when I was a kid. I loved babies. I loved birth. I loved blood, all that stuff. But life takes you on its course for whatever reason. Now at my current job, my 9 to 5, my previous supervisor, I was close with her, and we connected not only as, supervisor, subordinate relationship, but also like just on a public health level, as like colleagues. So I think we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about one day, but I mentioned always wanting to be an OBGYN or like a nurse or something. And she was like, well, why don't you be a doula? And I was like, well, what's that? And she's like, look it up. And I looked it up and I was like, can I curse on this show? Or is that not advised? I won't curse. I was like, I want to do that. And it's funny because actually, when I started out in grad school, forget the name of the class, but it was one of my first classes in my fall semester. And we learned about, that was the first time that I learned about the Black maternal, like, mortality and morbidity rates, and learning about Black children and all the things that Black women or Black birthers face in the United States. And I mean, realistically worldwide. And I remember it pissing me off. And I hated being in those types of classes where, the topic is about Black people and you're that one sprinkle of pepper in a sea of salt. And every time you talk about Black folks, everybody turns to you and looks at you like you have all the answers. So, we're talking about Black maternal health, and it's all these horrible statistics. And every time something comes up, everybody's turning around looking at me. And I remember being so angry and so scared, because honestly, it's one of the reasons why I don't have children yet. Like, I'm afraid to have a child. But I knew that at some point in my because even though I was still fixated on like HIV/AIDS, I knew that at some point I would do something about Black maternal health. And I mean, realistically, when we talk about public health and all these subsets of topics that you can focus on, both HIV/AIDS and maternal health both fall under the umbrella of sexual and reproductive health. So it's like, well, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, why not do both? And here I am today, however many years later, doing both. But like I said, I knew at some point I was going to do something with Black maternal health. So fast forward. So this is 2017. 2019, my boss was like, oh yeah, have you ever heard of a doula? And I was like, no, what's that? I go look it up. I'm doing that. So December 2019, that's when I started the process of like finding a training and figuring out what I was going to call myself. Cause I'm like, well, I need a name. And one day I thought about the Emerald Doula, because the emerald is my birthstone. My birthday's in May. Shout out to all the May Tauruses. And I just figured, emerald, that's a very precious stone. It's a very valuable stone. It's the color green. Green, when we talk about gendering colors, it's a gender neutral color. So
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to make sure that people would understand that, I am an inclusive provider, or as inclusive as I can be, within the realm of what I'm able to do with the resources I have. And just the meaning behind emerald, because, each stone has its own meaning. I loved what the emerald stands for. And then, of course, the color green, wealth,
Yes.
longevity. It's clearly, I don't know if you believe in God, but I personally feel like green is one of God's favorite colors, because there's so much grass and trees all over the world, forests and everything. So, it just signifies like abundance and love, yes, and passion. So that's where I came. That's why I decided on the Emerald Doula. But Yeah, I started December 2019.